Hello, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of chapter 6. It's just going to be me on the video today, so let's get at it. We're going to have some videos peppered throughout too, so that should be good. Nonverbal communication, chapter 6, part 2. Here we go. First of all, we're going to talk about the types of nonverbal communication. We're going to go over all of these, and they may be new terms to you: kinesics, oculesics, proxemics, haptics, chronemics, olfactics, and vocalics. Here we go. First of all, kinesics. You've probably heard of that. Kinesiology is the study of the body. So this has to do with your body movements in nonverbal communication, which is normally what we think of. When we think of what's my nonverbal communication, right now I'm using hand gestures, but there's a lot more to it. And we're going to go over that. As we did a little bit in part 1, but we're going to dig deeper here. How you gesture, how I'm sitting. Am I sitting like this, slouched over, like, you know what, I really don't want to be here? Or am I sitting up, you know, attentive to you, like, hey, this is something that we kind of want to take halfway seriously. When you're in public or talking to somebody, open posture, as it says here, is when the majority of your body faces the audience or another person. You open up to them. Closed posture, you shield your body from the other person. If you're in a conversation with somebody and they're opening up to you and you are having a good dialogue between the two of you, regardless of the subject matter, it says a whole lot about how I'm feeling about the conversation. And if I'm talking to you openly, or if I have my back turned and we're trying to talk, if you're ever in a conversation like that, one of you doesn't want to be there, obviously. So what's the purpose of kinesics? Well, first of all, emblems. We're going to go over all these different types one more time. So emblems are those things that directly translate into a verbal message. For instance, shaking hands means something. I don't have to say anything with shaking hands, but we know what it means. Hi, I'm greeting you. Nice to meet you, right? Index finger means come here. There are other fingers used for other things that mean something we won't get into here. Pumping your fist means something, like I'm really going to get you. But I don't have to say that. I just have to go like this, and you know. Peace might be one of them, universal sign for peace. Or it can mean cut, or it can mean two. So that's a little bit, ambiguous there with that one. Illustrators emphasize a verbal message. So pounding on the fist emphasizes it. If I'm talking and I say, I mean, take out the trash. Boy, I'm doing that to emphasize how serious I see that trash taking out being. Affect displays are nonverbals that convey emotion, okay? So we laugh when we're happy. You win a car on The Price is Right. You jump up and down. Those are affect displays, okay? It is just that. I'm showing emotion through that nonverbal behavior. So emblems, illustrators, affect displays, all part of kinesics because they deal with body language. Another one is regulators. These help manage a conversation like we talked about earlier. A student raises their hand. I am at that point helping to direct this dialogue, okay? I want you to stop what you're saying and acknowledge me. This doesn't stand alone. It's part of what we're already engaged in. I'm telling you while you're talking to me, I'm saying, no, don't say anything further. That means I'm interrupting you. Talk to the hand, moving on. Adapters are those that kind of help satisfy a bodily need that we have at the time, okay? They're called a thinking habit, okay? So like you're shaking your leg, that can mean something. It usually means you're nervous, okay? Chewing your fingernails means you're nervous. We all have things that we do. Sometimes you do this, that can mean that. I tend to go like this when I get stressed. That's an adapter I'm doing. Excuse me. The next type of nonverbal behavior along with kinesics is oculesics, okay? That's your eye movement. And it may seem like I'm doing a lot of that here because I tend to, in the videos, I tend to look at the monitor, which you should not do, or the screen and not the camera. So I apologize for that. So your oculesics are your eye movement, okay? We use it to convey our feelings, attitudes, our thoughts. If I'm talking to you and you're rolling your eyes, I know exactly what that means. Like, wow, I can't believe you just said that, or I'd rather be somewhere else, or whatever it is you're trying to convey. Maintaining eye contact in the US is seen as respectful, not in every culture. In other cultures, for instance, Asia, as Dr. Chang points out, it's seen as disrespectful. You don't want to look at somebody directly in the eyes. They just don't do that. It's invasive, disrespectful. Here in the US, that's how we show people that we're paying attention to them, okay? And it's hard. It's hard when people are speaking not to look away. It's hard to not look at your phone and be on your phone. We're getting worse at this, I think, collectively than we are better. It's important. It's important when you're speaking to look people in the eyes. When you're listening, as it says here, you're paying attention to the speaker. The next one is proxemics. What's that? Well, you use your space to convey information about you, okay? Your surroundings say a lot, right? We're gonna look at a video here which displays this. How well kept is your home? What do you have on your desk if you have desk in a workplace? If you go into a workplace and you see somebody in a cube or an office and they have, a collage of pictures on the wall and they're out partying and it's every time, they're drinking a beer or dancing or have a weird face, you kind of know, wow, you get a sense of that person. If on the other hand, they have a picture of their family, you get the sense that, oh, family's important to them. They're a family person. So not that you can't be both, obviously, but the way we use our space to, says a lot about us. Edward T. Hall, who we've talked about, defined distance zones regarding space. So first one is an intimate space. That's one that you typically, with your significant other or your family member, and 0 to 1.5 feet. Okay, these distances are a little bit arbitrary, but for learning this information, let's stick to these. 0 to 1.5 feet. That's about typically how close we'll sit or be to those people that are that significant in our lives. Personal space is what we do with our friends and also our family. That's 1.5 to 4 feet. Typically our friends, we're not going to, unless you're at a movie theater or maybe, a sporting event, you're not going to sit down on the couch, necessarily right next to them. You might have a little bit of space between you. Social space, that's if you're playing on a team, if you're in a meeting, those tend to be 4 feet to 12 feet. Now 12 feet's a lot. So that has to be a special circumstance for that. But a public space, which think of like a public speaker, a teacher maybe has a little less space, that would be considered social space. But a public speaker might have 12 feet between you in the audience and the speaker up at the podium, okay? Now, these are not types of relationships. These are space, the space we use. Intimate space, 0 to 1.5 feet. Personal space, 1.5 to 4 feet. Social space, 4 to 12 feet. Public space, 12 feet and beyond. We gave examples of situations where those spaces are used, but those terms are used to describe space here, okay? So, what type of space is this? And why are they doing this? Well, obviously, the pitcher's not real happy with the umpire. Now, what kind of space is it? Well, they're right next to each other. They are in an intimate space right now. Intimate in terms of space. Now afterwards, if you said to the pitcher, boy, I see you're getting intimate with the ref, he'd probably say, what are you talking about? Because the connotation of intimate to us is something different. But in terms of space, it doesn't get a whole lot more intimate than this. Haptics deal with touch. So we use touch in a variety of ways to send messages. We use it to control people, sit down, right? We use it to show love, obviously. There's a lot of different stages of that. We use it for excitement. Take somebody's shoulders. Yes, yes, that's awesome. We use it, unfortunately, for anger. And we know that that can get very ugly and violent. But they're all forms of haptics. Now, chronemics mean time. How does time work in our nonverbal behavior? You use time to show your emotion, your personal values, and we're going to look at a clip here that shows time, but it also shows proxemics that we talked about earlier. So it kind of shows both chronemics and proxemics. But think of what the time says about you nonverbally. Did you show up on time? Were you running late? Do you spend your time wisely, foolishly? Did you miss an assignment because you spent your time, doing something else that at that particular time was a priority for you? All of these are involved in our communicating nonverbally because we're not using words in this case. All right, I'm going to get to the video here.
Doing? Straightening up. Sheldon, this is not your home. This is not anyone's home. This is a swirling vortex of entropy. When the transvestite lived here, you didn't care how he kept the place because it was immaculate. I mean, you opened that man's closet, it was left to right, evening gowns, cocktail dresses, and his police uniforms. What were you doing in his closet? I helped him run some cable for a webcam.
Hey, guys.
Oh, hey, Penny, this just arrived. We just brought this up. Just now.
Great. Was it hard getting up the stairs?
No. We'll get out of your hair.
Okay, great. Thank you again.
Penny, I just want you to know that you don't have to live like this. I'm here for you.
What's he talking about?
All right, so in terms of chronemics, it's a great look at how these guys are spending their time taking care of their friend, how she's not taking the time to clean. There's a lot in that. Also proxemics in terms of this is how she keeps her area, right? This is how Sheldon can't stand it. He's a type of person we're going to talk about in a second. She's the other type of person under chronemics. So you get a real juxtaposition there between the two of them on both of these types of nonverbal behavior. So here are those two different groups. Monochronic people tend to do things one at a time. There's a whole list in your textbook of other attributes of monochronic people. And in terms of just chronemics and the time, these people are methodical. They like to do things one at a time. They don't like to be surprised. Polychronic people are people who can manage several things at once, or they think they can. They tend to be, like me, a little unfocused, and they operate that way. So think about who's who. It's not hard to tell who of Penny and Sheldon are going to be monochronic or polychronic, right? So let's move on to olfactics. Olfactics are meanings of smells. Now, the key thing to remember here is that the second bullet down. Smells trigger memories, and then that gives them meaning. Without memory, there's not much meaning to smell. Think about it. I know that there's a smell coming from a jug of milk that I put in the recycling, but I didn't rinse it well enough, which actually happened to me recently. I recognized the smell, so I knew I had to clean it out further or throw that out. Recently went into my father's house, and he and his lady friend were making pot roast. It immediately took me back to when my mother made that and I was a kid in the kitchen. And it just kind of was a calming influence, that smell. Why do you think when people are trying to sell houses, what do they do non-verbally? They bake cookies. Not just to give a free cookie to people who come in to look at the house, but they want it to smell like homemade cookies. Why? Because that is a smell that people attach to feeling good and warm and wanting to be in a house that smells like cookies. Some smells, as we know, are unintentional yet meaningful, you know? You've had that happen. Someone does something that gives off an odor and you're in an elevator. That is very meaningful. Okay, so, and remember at the top of the list that different smells do differ by culture as far as what the meaning is to them. The next one is vocalics. Now, this is an interesting one and one to remember. Nonverbal behavior doesn't just pertain to anything but words. We have nonverbals in our verbals. The words themselves, spoken or written, are verbal. Okay, if they're spoken, the spoken word, the word that you would write but you speak it, that is verbal. Okay, nonverbals are all of those things that go with the talking we do, called the vocalics, that are not the words. How high are we speaking? I tend to talk loudly. I don't know why. I'm not hard of hearing. I don't know why, but I do. What's our tone like when we're talking? If I want something from you, I might talk a little differently than if I want something from you, okay? The rate at which we talk. Are we a very fast talker or do we talk slow and methodically? Do we use pauses? And why? Do we speak when we gasp or sigh? That's a nonverbal. That says something, okay? We're afraid, we can't believe what you just said, we're tired, we're bored. Now take a look at this speech. And before the clip that you're going to see, just know that this gentleman running for office did just say he had a master's in communication. So, yeah, keep that in mind while you're watching.
Of the Starr County Republican Party executive.
Stand by. I'm going to show you here. And
Where I'm serving my 13th year as an elected service as a Minerva Council member. In terms of education, I have a bachelor's degree in sociology, a bachelor's degree in history, a master's degree in public administration, and a master's degree in communication. In terms of elections across Starr County, I have represented our party twice on the county ballot in both the primary and the general elections. When I ran for Starr County Clerk of Courts in 1996 and Starr County Commissioner in 2000, and I will not apologize for my tone tonight. I have been a Republican in times good, and I have been a Republican in times bad.
Okay, we're going to stop it there. I started a little earlier than I had intended, so you did hear him speak about having a communication degree, which I find amusing, frankly. Wow. He knew what his tone was like. He wasn't going to apologize for it. But if you walk into that meeting to learn something about this gentleman, first question is what? What did I do? Why are you so mad at me? Why are you screaming at me? Our tone, the way we talk to people, says everything. Do you talk to your family different than your friends? Do you talk to your family different than you talk to someone that you just met? Think about it. And think about how you speak to the people closest to you. Is it respectful? Is it like you do to other people who you want to like you and aren't just happen to be in the same house or in the same family or close to you? Think about that. Artifacts, also on the list, are those objects around us that communicate meaning. Again, piece of nonverbal communication, but not words, okay? What they show is they show a lot about you and others. Your attitudes, your feelings, the mood you're in, your belief system, the interests you have, your hobbies, your ideologies, which is a set of beliefs, you know, how you feel about something. So think about that again in an office. You're all going to go into an office one day, probably, or have a workspace of some sort, and you might get to decorate that, you know, with some personal artifacts. What are those going to say about you? What do you want people to know about you from that? Because they will notice things. They will notice things. Even you come into class, the type of backpack you decide to have says something about you. The type of eyeglass case you have, the type of handbag you have. All of this expresses attitudes about us, what we value. When you go into someone's home, boy, you can see right away, you can learn a lot about a person just by walking into their living room and seeing what they have on display. A lot of family pictures, obviously they're probably family oriented. A lot of their kids' drawings, they're proud of their children. They celebrate that, or they want you to think they do, right? So it does, it says, our artifacts say a lot about us. Now, connotatively, artifacts can mean something old. We think of like, oh, we found old artifacts, or, you know, digging up architecturally. Doesn't mean anything about that here. These are present day things that you surround yourself with, objects that tell people who you are, artifacts. What do you think of this person? Okay. What do you think about this person? These are there's an object. There are objects on your skin, that between your eyes, that doesn't necessarily tell you 100% about them, but based on what you know and your belief system, you will develop, right, a perception of what this person is like. Okay, we love her. What do all these say about her? Huh? Boy, known for her attire. She's really toned it down, but man, it was a huge thing when it first happened. If you remember, I know you were young, but she really set the world on fire with that. Why? Wanted to get noticed, wanted to develop an identity of her own, wanted to show that she was a free spirit. Look at this. What can you tell by someone? Look at this. Look at the type of microphone she's using, the nail polish she decided to use, her outfit, okay? Trying to show us class. You decide. Okay, can you tell which ones are athletes based on their body type? Say both of them are athletes? Probably. We tend to size people up, develop an attitude or perception of them based on their bodies. Okay. Now, also through our nonverbals, we might, highlighted, be able to infer about eating habits. How do you think the eating habits of these people differ? These are the extremes, granted. Somebody who's dealing with, obesity and someone who's dealing with the opposite, probably anorexic or bulimic. Most people are on a continuum somewhere in here in the middle. But, I've had friends who are leaning toward, the more full-figured body type and feel like they can't eat, an ice cream cone in public because they know how they're being judged, and like it or not, that meant something to them. Okay, so body type is definitely part of our nonverbal communication. Okay, you have an activity here, and what you're going to do, and it's outlined more on your activity sheet, is you're going to analyze a scene in one of my favorite movies, Devil Wears Prada. I think at this point it's probably like 10 years old or so. If you haven't seen it, it's based on Anna Wintour, the editor of Vogue magazine, and Meryl Streep plays her in the movie, and Anne Hathaway is coming in to apply for a job there with this woman who, is who the title reflects people's feelings about. The Devil Wears Prada. Now, when you look at this, what I want you to do is look at the kinesics, the oculesics, the vocalics, and the artifacts. So how are they using these two characters? Their bodies, their eye movement, their voices, and the articles around them, okay? So you will have this link that you can refer to, but for now, I'm gonna play it for you just so you can get a sense of it already before you even go to do the activity. And feel free to obviously jot something down right now too, if you want to.
Your assistant. I came to New York to be a journalist and sent letters out everywhere, and then finally got a call from Elias Clark and met with Sherry up at Human Resources, and basically it's this or Auto Universe.
So you don't being run by?
No?
Before today, you had never heard of?
No.
You have no style or sense of fashion?
Well, I think that depends on what you're...
No. That was my question.
I was editor-in-chief of the Daily Northwestern. I also won a national competition for college journalism with my series on the Janitors Union, which exposed the exploitation of... Yeah, okay. You're right. I don't fit in here. I am not skinny or glamorous, and I don't know that much about fashion, but I'm smart. I learn fast, and I will work
I got the exclusive on the Cavalli for Gwyneth. But the problem is, with that huge feathered headdress that she's wearing, she looks like she's working the main stage at the Golden Nugget.
Thank you for your time.
Is that sad little person? We're doing a before and after piece. I don't know.
Okay, there's a lot there. And hopefully, I know I'm outside right now. I know it's a little windy, so hopefully you were able to hear that. If not, watch it again with the link that is on your activity sheet. Boy, there's a lot there. Okay, but have fun with that. There's plenty to write about in terms of kinesics, The body language, boy, a couple of great moments. The oculesics, the eye movement, vocalics, with both of those characters, and the artifacts. So have a good time, because I think this scene is perfect for looking at all 4 of those types of nonverbal behavior. And we went over some of the other forms too. We just didn't put them for this clip because we thought these were probably the most pertinent. All right, so here's some guidelines for dialogic nonverbal communication, which just means communicating nonverbally. Okay, ask clarifying questions. If somebody's giving you a signal and you don't know what it means, ask them. We do this. You do this without even realizing. Somebody's not paying attention to you and you're on a date. Are you mad at me? They're quiet. Are you mad at me? Is everything okay? We do this all the time. Don't assume others understand your nonverbals, okay? Don't assume that when I point, I can't assume you know where I mean. This is one thing that makes me crazy when I'm driving. And people will say, turn here, go there, get over there. I don't know what that means. Or where you point, I don't know if any of the others of you have had this problem, but when you point from the passenger side, it looks different than the driver's side. You have to be very clear. So just don't assume that other people understand that. Control your nonverbal reactions, all right? There's a time and a place for everything. If you go into a business meeting or meeting with an organization and you are the whole time like, ugh, that's not gonna be great, okay? So practice those. And along with that, use situationally appropriate nonverbals. There are some that you can use with your friends. Hey, how's it going? And then there are some we use, in a different type setting. And most people who have reached a collegiate level have some kind of understanding of this, but just be very, very aware of that. And again, it goes back to look at communication from the receiver standpoint, all right? And then learn the cultural differences in nonverbal meanings. Like we mentioned, in the Asian culture, looking somebody directly in the eyes is considered disrespectful. So when you go to visit another culture, learn what that means. In terms of ethnic cultures, there are different types of cultures too. Again, when you go into a business, how you dress at work says a lot about you. The way you present yourself says a lot. Do you interrupt? How are you communicating non-verbally in all the ways we've talked about yourself in different situations? And there you have it. So thanks everybody. Good luck getting through this particular chapter and doing the activities. It's really, really interesting. And as you do everything, keep thinking, how do I apply this to my daily life? How is this part of my daily life, or how could I apply this in terms of that on a daily basis? All right, take care. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.